In today's video, guys, it's a bit of a sad one, but we're going to go there. Yeah, basically, if you've read the title, my new AM5 system doesn't boot. Ah, yes, problems, guys. Oh dear. I don't know what's happened, basically. What I'll do, in a bit, I'll show you the actual footage of me installing the CPU and the CPU cooler and the RAM. And what I always do before I do my AM5 builds is I always just put it onto like this sort of like test bench sort of thing. This is like a mining type of sort of rig, if you will, and then I just use that sort of little rig just to test it up with my known power supply, which is I know is working, and then just to test it before I put it into a case, basically. And basically, I put it together, hoping that everything would be a-okay. So yes, this AM5 system isn't actually booting. And like I said, I did everything right. I think I've installed everything correctly. I went to power it on, but basically the fan just keeps on spinning on the CPU cooler. It doesn't change speeds or anything, which is really suspicious. And this motherboard doesn't have any of those Dr. Debug LEDs either. So yeah, all I've actually been able to do is just put a speaker on, basically one of those beep speakers. If you can see that just there. I don't know. Basically, there's no beep even from the beep speaker. So again, it's really weird. Now I haven't put a graphics card in here mainly because the Ryzen 5 7600X does have onboard graphics. So in theory, using the onboard graphics here to this monitor, the onboard graphics which is plugged into the HDMI on the monitor on the motherboard, sorry, should actually work up here. But basically, I'll show you what it does now. Now, I have tried this for about half an hour because some AM5 systems apparently do take absolutely ages to memory train. And the one stick of RAM that I put in, I had put it into the second slot, but I've also tested it in the first slot as well. So I put it in both slots, and we've had the same thing. Basically, I'll just show you what happens anyway now. No, actually, in fact, before I show you what happens, I'll show you the footage of me installing everything now, and then we'll come back.
It's perfect. Yep.
So yeah, as you can see there from the footage, I think I installed everything fine. I don't think there's any issues. If you can see any issues, obviously put it in the comments. Maybe I have installed something wrong, but I think everything was fine personally. So I don't know. I'm a bit of a puzzle here, and I thought, well, we may as well just put this video together because it might help someone as well who's potentially trying to debug their own AM5 system as well. And the fact is that without getting this AM5 system up and running, I can't get a video out anyway, so I may as well give you something for this week, guys, rather than nothing. I mean, if I can't get the AM5 system working again, next week's video will be the NZXT H3 Flow, and I'll just use my old trusty AM4 system. Tell you what, I do love AM4 even more now. AM5 has been a little bit of a nightmare already because it's just so expensive to get onto that platform. And then obviously, if you have any issues like I've got now, I haven't got parts to swap in and out. So I don't know exactly where I am with this build. So it's really frustrating, actually. This is why I really love AM4 because it's so cheap to get in. I could get it in for under £100 even to a complete AM4 system. And I've got like 2 or 3 complete AM4 systems around me as well. So if anything doesn't work with AM4, switch it out, put a new CPU in, put a new motherboard in, put new RAM in. Easy. That's what I love about AM4. It's just so accessible and cheap and easy, and it's great. It's amazing. But we are with AM5, and it is the future, so we kind of have to embrace AM5. So basically, I've waffled on again far too much. Let's just switch it on and see what happens, basically. So I switch it on at the power supply. Now, unfortunately, again, this is because this is a budget motherboard. I can't see any lights. Although the monitor there, I think if you just saw, did actually switch on. So there is power to the monitor. So I'm going to power on now because I've just got this little like adapter thing here which just has the power switch in. So I've got the speaker there and the power switch there. That's the fan, the CPU fan, and that does spin. So let's give it a go. So that spins. That CPU fan is spinning. But basically there just won't be any post to our monitor here. It will just go on for a long time. It's going to go on for a long time, and it's just not going to happen. I'm probably going to let this go for about one or two more minutes, and then I'll come back to it. Yeah, so I've given this about a minute or two since I actually just talked to you there, and I can see the PS2 fan is spinning, and I can obviously see that the CPU fan is spinning because you can see that as well. So there's no output on our display, and the fan has basically been spinning at the exact RPM all the time. Like I say, CPU is installed, from what I believe, fine. The motherboard should support the CPU out of the box without a BIOS update, so that's another thing that we shouldn't have to do. The power supply that I'm using is a known working power supply. And obviously, basically the only 2 things that I've used, which is used, the motherboard is new, so in theory we shouldn't have a problem with the motherboard. The CPU is actually used, and it did come with a load of thermal paste on top, so that might be the only issue, possibly. I did wipe off as much thermal paste as I could from it before I installed it. I don't think the thermal paste is going to cause an issue, but that is what it is. It's a used CPU, so I can't test it to say it's 100% working. So I don't know. And also the RAM is actually used as well. So yeah. So yeah, the RAM is actually used as well. So again, I can't actually verify 100% whether that is working or not. I mean, technically, even the motherboard, even though it's new, might not be 100% working. Things from factory new aren't always working. You know, just because something has been brought new, you can't verify without actually seeing it posted. You know, without getting a post and getting an official, you know, like working from it. I can't guarantee that even the motherboard, which was brought from new, is actually, you know, it isn't faulty, and it is fine. So I don't know. What I'll do is I'll swap the RAM over to the first slot, and we'll see if there's any difference. But again, I've tried this before and we haven't got any difference, so I'll give it a go. Switching it off now. Now, I don't think there was anything displayed at all there throughout that time that I was speaking. I didn't see anything anyway. I'm pretty sure you guys would have seen something if something did happen. You'd have put it in the comments, so that's what it is. Okay. sorry, the camera's gone a bit weird there, but we switched over the RAM now, so we're in RAM first slot rather than the second slot. We're going to switch on power supply, and we're going to switch on here. CPU fan is spinning and PSU fan is spinning. Again, don't see anything. That was just the monitor flashing for the basically this monitor kind of powers off after a few seconds, so that was just a little screen that flashed up. That wasn't a boot. Again, no beeps from the speaker, which is really, really odd. Again, please comment below, what is my problem? I don't know. There wasn't anything there, wasn't no. I don't know, but I can't understand why there's no beeps from the speaker as well, because usually if the motherboard doesn't want to post, then there's usually beeps from the speaker. So again, I'm not used to AM5, so again, if people have got more debugging experience on AM5, please let me know. But yeah, I just can't get this to boot. So really, basically, my only options now are basically like an RMA, or like send it back to, well, I'm still in the 30 days Amazon return window. So I think actually what I'll do is just actually probably return, I don't know whether I'll return all three, like the CPU, the motherboard and the RAM. I mean, I think it's very, very unlikely the RAM would be an issue, personally. I've not really seen, I mean, it can be, but yeah, I just don't know. I don't know. I mean, I mean, really, what I should do is actually buy, you know, 3 brand new things, like a brand new motherboard, brand new CPU, and brand new RAM, and then actually get a second test system working with AM5, and then obviously transfer things from this system to that system, and basically just default a debug what is the exact problem one by one. That's what I should do, because in theory, if I transfer the RAM from this system into a working system, and obviously it boots, then I know the RAM's good. If I transfer the CPU into this system, into a working system that I know boots, and it doesn't boot, then obviously the CPU is bad. If it does boot, the CPU is fine. But obviously, the problem is I don't have the second system. That's obviously the problem. And if I'm being honest, I don't really want to spend another 300 odd quid to actually get that second system. So I'm kind of inclined to actually just returning this all. It's a real annoying bugger though. It really is annoying when computers just don't boot, because you can't really go in. It's, like I said, if it was AM4, I'd be fine, because I could just literally transfer over a few things and debug it within half an hour and know exactly what the problem was. But because it's an AM5 system, and I still think this is the problem with AM5. I'm going to have a bit of a rant here. we're there anyway, so we're going to have a bit of a rant. I still think AM5 is too expensive for what it is, personally. And I certainly don't like the system of actually mounting the CPU. I prefer the AM4 system mounting the CPU, where you had the actual legs on the CPU, or the you know, the CPU actually had the pins on the CPU. Sorry, not the legs. That was a bit weird. But the pins on the CPU was better, because it kind of clicked into the motherboard easier, and then you knew it was in. Where this is, you're kind of guessing whether your actual CPU is sitting on your pins fine. And that's another thing as well with this motherboard. I've taken the CPU out, looked at the pins, and the pins do seem fine. So I don't think it is the pins on the motherboard. But again, let's just switch this off, because it's not going anywhere. Yeah, I still prefer AM4 by an absolute mile. I just think also AM4 is just so accessible to get onto it, and obviously it's just so upgradable, and it's just such a, it's so good. But I know AM5 is good in theory if you can get it up and running. I just don't like these long boot sort of things, where potentially some people are even talking up to like 10 to 15 minutes even for the first boot, which I think is totally unacceptable, personally. I think AMD should have sorted that out in manufacturing to actually not have issues like that. I think that's poor by AMD, in my opinion. I'm not overly impressed with AM5 on my first initial system. Also, as well, this motherboard doesn't have the Dr. Debug LEDs either. So that's another thing that's actually really, really annoying. I know it's a £75 motherboard and a cheap motherboard, but I still expect Dr. Debug LEDs, or some kind of debug way to actually debug these boards, even for a very cheap board. I still expect that. Maybe I'm asking too much again, but personally, I actually do prefer having those dot to debug LEDs so that you can actually then it shows either CPU or RAM or whatever your issue is. It kind of comes up, and then it's easier to debug it. It's easier just to swap out what you need that way. But yeah, sorry, I've gone a bit ranty here. I do apologise, but it's just frustrating because obviously I can't kind of do the videos that I wanted to do now, and I don't really know where to go. I don't really want to spend another 300 odd quid trying to debug this all and see where it goes. Well, I suppose ideally I'd probably get maybe ask other people to see, whether they've got hardware they can obviously lend me, and then just do it that way. But I don't really know. I don't really know a lot of people at the moment. I probably don't, in terms of who actually would have an AM5 system, because most people I know would only have AM4 systems currently. So not many people actually have gone, that I know anyway, have actually, of my friends anyway, who have gone up to AM5. So I don't really have a lot of debug hardware, unfortunately. So that is what it is. Where are we got on the minute? Okay, so this video is kind of gone a bit too long now, so we are going to have to cut this short. But please let me know in the comments of what you think in terms of how I could debug this further. The only thing I was thinking is maybe doing like a BIOS flashback, and then obviously getting like the absolute latest BIOS put onto there. That's the only other thing I was thinking maybe of doing. I mean, to me, it doesn't look to be an issue. I could be wrong. In terms of how they installed everything, it seems to me that we must have a faulty part somewhere. But again, it's debugging it to where we need to be. Sorry again, it's a bit of a crap video for you guys, but I thought it would actually be something to kind of sort of share frustrations with. Maybe you've had frustrations with AM5 as well, and maybe you felt it was not quite up to scratch in terms of how they kind of handle the boot and what have you, and maybe it wasn't quite as easy as it should have been for you guys. I don't know, maybe you've had really good experiences, guys, with AM5, and that's fine, but this has put me off a little bit, I must admit. I'm almost tempted to go straight back to AM4 now and just get something like a Ryzen 7 5800X 3D, and then just carry on using that basically, and just go back to AM4, because I'm not impressed with AM5 so far. Again, it could just be the board or what have you, or it could be the CPU, but it's just unfortunate, I guess. But anyway, I'll leave it there. Please comment if you do think you've got a solution of what I could do, or recommendation, if you will. Please like the video if you did like it, and please subscribe for my future videos. And as always, guys, I'll see you on the next one. Bye, guys.